Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. I'm not going to talk about the meaning of the gold, frankincense, and myrrh, because for all the many decades you've been coming to Mass, you've heard it. But I'm going to talk about the mystery of the Epiphany, and that mystery is still unfolding. That mystery still begs to be opened like a precious gift that always gives and gives without let up. I'd like to talk about, in reference to this gift that I'm talking about this morning, about Carole King. Many of you who are my age bracket would know who Carole King is. And it's too late, baby. It's too late now. That song was number one in the charts for many weeks, maybe even months, when it became popular in the early 70s. That song was replaced when James Taylor sang You've Got a Friend. And so James Taylor replaced the number one in the chart of songs at the time. That song was written by Carole King, sang by James Taylor. That song, It's Too Late Now, It's Too Late Baby, was written by Carole King because she came at the time from a situation of darkness, a situation of pain, a situation of heartbreak. And as things happened, we all become most productive and most creative when we are in pain. I don't know about you, but I write my best essays and even come up with an occasional poem when I am in pain. I'm talking about pain because I am talking about hope. And now that the Omicron strain of the virus has already entered our shores, we are once more in pain. We are once more in anxiety. We are once more worried. And I see it immediately because the number of those who come for Mass, just when the government said it's gonna impose another level 3 alert, level 3 alert beginning tomorrow, people are already giving second thoughts about coming to Mass and coming to church. I'm talking about pain because it is a prelude to possibility. I'm talking about darkness because darkness is a reality. When the star shone for the Magi to follow, the Magi saw possibility. But there was one who saw pain, and that was Herod. And he saw pain because he was anxious to lose his power. He was not very happy to have competition. When the shepherds saw salvation, Herod saw competition, and he saw pain. When the angels sang about the doxato Teu, the glory of God, and when the prophets talked about the fullness of peace forever, Herod saw pain, not possibility. Darkness is a reality in our lives. And if you deny darkness, then I'm sorry for you. You're missing what darkness can teach you. You're missing what darkness can lead you to. And it is always darkest just before dawn, in case you didn't notice. It is always darkest just before dawn. And then everything lights up, everything moves, everything becomes ecstatic, everything becomes excited. All animals begin to wake up with excitement just before the break of dawn. But it is always darkest just before dawn. I have the story about a father who was a take control, take charge dad, the kind who would always go running for 5 kilometers each morning, the kind of person who would run marathons and pentathlons and something like that. The kind of father who would always produce and who would always give the best for his family and for his children. And he had a little boy, maybe 3 or 4 years old. And one day he comes down with a flu, and he could not run, and he could not go to work, and he could not do what he loved to do, and that is cooking breakfast for his family just before going to work. And then, lying down in bed, in a room darkened with heavy draperies, and then there was a gentle knock on the door that morning, and that little boy opened the door ever so gently, just enough for a ray of light to pass through the slits in the shadows. And the boy just said, "Dad, I just came here to hurt with you." What a beautiful image of Epiphany. Because Epiphany is a story of light, despite the darkness. And you don't have to deny the darkness. You don't have to deny and remove the story of Herod. Because the story of Herod is a story of darkness in the light. And Epiphany is a story of light despite the darkness. It is a story that defines but not defeats light. You know, the beginning story of the novel Christmas Carol, quoted by the Second Plenary Council of the Philippines in 1991. It started with 2 statements that were very laconic, very short, very pithy, but pregnant with meaning. It was the worst of times. It was the best of times. And true enough, the Second Plenary Council of the Philippines, one of the most well-written documents ever done by a local church like the Philippines, 1991, it says, "We live in the worst of times. We live in the best of times." And then it added, "But only if we are willing to turn the crisis into KAIROS." I did my masteral thesis on the documents of PCP2, and I know what I'm talking about. We live in the worst of times. We live in the best of times. But only if we are willing to turn the crisis into KAIROS. KAIROS is God's time. It's not Chronos, which is the time of your watches. It is not a chronometry. It is KAIROS, which is the time of God. God's time. Qualitative time. It's not quantitative. It's God telling us, thick clouds now cover the peoples, and dark clouds are now covering. But Isaiah said, "Take heart, Jerusalem, rejoice, Jerusalem." And what was he saying? He knew what he was talking about. It was Isaiah chapter 60. And that was written right after the Jews were liberated from the great exile in Babylon. And Isaiah knew what he was saying, and he said, "Take heart, Jerusalem, rejoice in the Lord. Even if thick clouds cover now the peoples, the light of the Lord will shine, and the fullness of peace will reign forever." But what do you do with the dark? You know, you've got to choose. And this is now the good news. Epiphany is all about choosing what to see. If you choose to see Herod and his darkness, then make my day. Go do it and wallow in depression and in sadness. Go and wallow in the dark. But Epiphany is about choosing what to see. Epiphany is God is choosing what to see, because at bottom, Epiphany is God deciding to show, deciding to manifest, deciding to show Himself. I am with you for all time. And therefore, when Epiphany happened, and Epiphany still is happening now, then we talk about shepherds seeing promise instead of Herod seeing pain. Angels seeing the doxa to Teu, the glory of God, and the fullness of peace forever. It is Carol King, despite the heartache and the pain, saying, "It's too late, baby. Now it's too late." Because he broke up with James Taylor, and she got married 4 times. So she knew what was heartbreak. But then, what she wrote after, "You've got a friend." The good news that you're never left alone in the lurch. Epiphany is light shining in the darkness. Darkness is a reality, I know, even as Omicron is a reality, even if there are naysayers and deniers and conspiracy theories. There are still people saying now, even now, that 9/11 never happened, that it was created by the CIA. And there are people who deny everything and who always has something to say. There are Facebook University graduates who know everything. According to Socrates many thousands of years ago, smart people learn from everything and everyone. Average people learn from their experiences. And stupid people know all the answers. And we have a lot of them in Facebook and in social media. They even teach us how to become priests. They even teach me how to deliver a homily. What did they learn? Facebook and Twitter. Epiphany is light shining in the darkness. Darkness is reality. But the dark, according to Brené Brown, the dark does not destroy the light. It defines it. Epiphany is not just about gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Epiphany is about hope. And hope is all we have. And you better hold on to it, because hope is God.